Well, we've got a home game right now. I want to focus our attentions on Notre Dame. They're the most efficient offensive team in the country. And the whole key, whether we are at home or away, is we need to play consistently at the defensive end of the floor. We got to defend and we have to rebound, which we didn't do the last time out. And, there's always reasons you lose games. In the 3 losses within the league, each game was different as to why we lost. At Virginia, we missed free throws. We were 10 for 17 from the foul line. Against Clemson, we didn't finish the game well. We didn't execute our game plan in the last 5 minutes. And then against NC State, we were not sharp at either end of the floor, despite the fact that, we scored the ball. We shot 6 for 14 from 3 in the first half. We took way too many threes. We took 26 threes. It's not our game plan. We certainly didn't plan on getting out rebounded 41 to 23 or to put them on the foul line that much. In fact, it was the opposite. We planned on keeping them off the foul line while trying to get to the foul line ourselves.
Can you talk a little more about Notre Dame? I mean, they have some really stellar players. I know you mentioned that they're the most efficient team, but they put up points like water. I mean,
well, Demetrius Jackson is an NBA first-round pick. He's a great offensive player. He's a terrific defender. He's one heck of an athlete. He's very, very strong. He gets to where he wants to go. He creates shots for himself and others very effortlessly, and that's really the sign of a great point guard. They're the defending ACC champions. They won the tournament last year, and their perimeter play last year was absolutely amazing with Demetrius Jackson, Jerry and Grant, Steve Astoria, and Pat Connaughton. Well, now they've got a very similar team. Demetrius Jackson has a larger role. He's got the ball in his hands more, but Steve Astoria is playing at a very, very high level. V.J. Beacham has moved into the starting lineup. He killed us last year with his ability to stretch the floor. Burgett had a great game against Wake Forest over the weekend, so he's playing well. And Zach August is one of the best rebounders in the league. I think he's 4th right now.
There's 5 guys averaging double figures. Going back, does Jackson have a role in that because of his he posts his own selfish shot?
Yeah, I think Jackson is a big reason, but also I think Mike Bray is the biggest reason. They've recruited, he and his staff, a lot of skilled players. There are some programs that really look for athletes. There are some programs that really look for skills. They happen to have both. They've got a certain number of really good athletes, but like if you look at Jackson, he's one heck of an athlete. August is one heck of an athlete. Beacham's a very good athlete, but so is Steve Astoria. And you see his athleticism mostly at the offensive end, but he's also, they have very good team rebounding. So they're just a very good basketball team, a top 25 basketball team. Whether they're ranked in the top 25 or not right at this moment, to me, they're a top 25 basketball team.
We were talking earlier about the way the Lakers gone at Louisville loses big at home, and Virginia comes back 2 nights later and beats North Carolina. It seems to be that's the way this league goes.
Well, I think every night you have to play really hard and really well to give yourself a chance to win. Even if you play really hard and really well, you could still lose because the other team that you're playing is playing really hard and really well. So last night you saw 2 ACC games that all 4 teams played very hard, very competitive games. Carolina was right there at the end, had a chance to tie it up, missed a couple of point-blank layups. But the reason they missed them is Louisville did such a great job of contesting shots at the rim. They're big guys, Chinanu and the other big guys were always contesting those shots that Carolina makes at a very, very high rate. And at the other end of the floor, I thought Damian Lee and Trey Lewis, two fifth-year guys, really showed their value at the offensive end as to making big plays and big shots.
Can you, when you're dealing with it, how different is it dealing with a game that you lost, say by 1 point or in overtime, and dealing with a game like double digits?
Well, a game you lose by 1 point, you kind of relive over and over again for a while. It's hard to just put that behind you because you know in one possession, one stop, one shot, one free throw, you could have won the game. When you lose by double digits, you can see all the reasons you lost, but there's so many of them that you feel like, okay, we got to address everything. It's not about just one thing. Oh, it's a little easier, and I'm not talking about a game like us with NC State, because with 5 or 7 minutes to go, we were right there. But we didn't compete hard enough that day to give ourselves a good chance to win. So it was more about effort and execution.
Did you feel that before the game, that there was going to be a problem?
I saw it early on in the game, first possession, when we gave up 4 offensive rebounds, when we said this is a team that offensive rebounds.
I don't know if you answered this earlier, I'm sorry, I had some personal things I had to deal with. What is the team's mood? Like, everyone was so high after the Duke game. What's the team's mentality right now, or the morale? Or?
I would say yesterday's practice was very professional, that they came back ready to work, and they worked hard and competed hard in practice. I think they're disappointed the way they played on Saturday, and I think they'll be looking forward to playing better tomorrow night.
Three more points out of Tanya.
Yeah, I'd like him to be in double figures every night, but it seems we don't get him easy buckets. Some of it just has to do with the personnel and the personalities of our players. They need to find him better when they're driving to the basket. Like at the end of the NC State game, he got 2 easy baskets, 2 guys, one time Angel, one time Jaquan, tossed it up to him, and he just laid it in at the rim. He should get at least a couple of those in every game, and then a couple of back-to-the-basket games, a couple of offensive rebound baskets. If he could get 5 or 6 baskets every game, that would really, really help us.
Any other questions? Coach, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the sort of the depth on this team and the interchangeability of some of the parts and how you've taken advantage of that. And how would you compare it to other teams you've had?
Well, probably my most challenging decision-making comes during the game in terms of a rotation. Some of it is based on performance just prior to the game. So like who's practicing well right now, who's shooting the ball well, who's rebounding well, who's defending well. Others have to do with matchups. Who are we facing? Who matches up better with this guy? We started out the season hoping that we'd have like a 10-man rotation, 5 starters and 5 subs. We reduced it to 9, and now we reduced it to 8. I'd like to still be at 10, to be honest, but it's very, very hard to do it. Just because of the various combinations that you have in the game. So some combinations don't work very well defensively. So you got to kind of avoid those combinations. Some combinations that are effective are smaller. And we want to find time to play those small guys together. Our 5 leading scorers, 4 of them are guards. Sheldon McClellan, Angel Rodriguez, Jaquan Newton, and Davon Reed. So they've been given the opportunity to play together some, but they're not big enough to play together for an extended period of time. What we gain in our ball handling and scoring, we give up in our size and our rebounding.
Why did you reduce it to 8?
For the same reasons I mentioned. Some of it has to do with matchups. Some of it has to do with how well a guy is playing in practice. For most coaches, the ideal number is actually 7, where you have 1 perimeter sub and 1 post sub. And the coaches who are talking about not having a lot of depth, they're saying that like it's a weakness. But if you look at Duke last year, they won the national championship. They had a 7-man rotation. The team we played the other day, NC State, has a 7-man rotation. Duke would have a 7-man rotation if Emil Jefferson were healthy. A lot of teams only play 7 guys. It helps then that those 7 players know I'm going to play about 30 minutes a game. That gives them confidence. They know their role, and they know they're going to be rotated in and out with 1 guy. Our championship team a few years ago, we started Shane Larkin, Duran Scott, and Trey McKinney-Jones. We only had 1 perimeter sub, and that was Ryan Brown. So those 4 guys knew they were going to play and play extensively. Our front court, we had Julian Gamble and Kenny Kaji in the start lineup, and Reggie Johnson and Tanya Jakiri as the post subs. And Reggie sub for Julian and Tanya sub for Kenny. So everybody knew, okay, this is the guy I'm giving a chance to rest. I'm going to go in there and play as hard as I can. That's actually ideal. But right now, we have 1 guy who's just so much better a rebounder than everybody else. It's hard to take Tanya Jakiri out because he's perhaps the best rebounder in the league. His numbers are not quite as high, but he's clearly the best rebounder on our team by almost double. In scoring, it's the same with Sheldon McClellan. He's the most efficient offensive player on the team, and he's very, very hard to leave on the bench. So the guys who come in to give those 2 guys a rest don't get a lot of minutes at those spots.
So when you say, like, if you have too much depth beyond the 7, and then you have to make all these decisions during the game, that's not always is that a good luxury or not such a great luxury?
It's a luxury if your players can accept playing 10 minutes a game. The biggest problem players have with playing time is if you give them 10, they want 15. Can't understand why they can't get more. If you give them 15, they want 25. If you give them 25, they want to start and play 30. The guys who can really accept, I'm going to play 10 to 12 minutes a game, but I'm going to make that 12 minutes very productive, those are the best guys for depth. I'm not talking about your top 6 or 7. I'm talking about that 8th, 9th, or 10th man who can really understand, hey, some nights I'm playing a lot, some nights I'm not playing that much.
So a lot of it is just like accepting roles and
Everything is accepting roles. You know, even being the leading scorer is accepting that responsibility to show up and give us a great effort every night. If you're the leading scorer one night and you're the leading scorer on the team, and for whatever reason you don't feel good, you're tired, you don't feel like performing, there's a very good chance your team gets beat because the team is counting on you to be in double figures, to get 14 or 15 points or more. The same for a guy who has to rebound. You know, if you're the best rebounder and you don't show up to rebound, then the team has to have someone rebound, or what happens is that you lose.
How's the matchup inside with Notre Dame for Tanya and?
Well, we match up very well with them, just like we did with Duke. You know, the thing about it is those matchups, I'm not sure who they favor. You know, it's one thing to feel like you match up well with them. I mean, like, we don't match up great with NC State because of their bulk. They've got bigger bodies in the post, and those are harder for us to guard than more of a finesse type player. We don't have guys, a lot of guys, we only have one guy who weighs 250 or more. I don't even know if he's 250 now. He probably weighs about 245. Where they've got a bunch of guys in that size category. So there are certain teams we match up better. Doesn't mean the matchup is in our favor, but it looks like we can guard them and they can guard us equally.
And I want to ask about Yvonne. I mean, there was a lot of promise and talk, beginning. Has he done what you wanted him to, or?
Well, I talked to him and Kamari yesterday about needing them to be who they are more often. In other words, someone like Yvonne is a three-point shooter. He might get a basket or two, layups, jump hooks, stuff like that, offensive rebound, run the court, get a layup. But what he gives us is a stretch for a guy who can make threes. He needs to do that consistently well. And the problem is guys like that tend to feel like, well, I need 7 or 10 shots to really be a really good stretch for. Well, I can't get you, our team can't afford to get you 10 threes a game, so that if you miss 2 or 3, that's all right because you're going to get 5 to 7 more. Right? And with Kamari, we need someone other than Tanya to be all over the backboards, especially offensive rebounding. And the other day, he didn't get a single offensive rebound in 24 minutes of playing time, and we missed plenty of shots. So guys have to know what their job is, because other guys can't do their job. Angel can't go in there and offensive rebound. We don't want Sheldon in there and have his man leak out and get a fast break layup because he's not back defensively. The guards have to get back, and the front court guys have to go to the boards. And our front court guys are basically Tanya, Yvonne, Kamari, and then every once in a while someone like Davon.
Yeah, that's really what Kamari. I mean, that's what he brings, is that defensive energy.
That's what we hope he'll focus on.
Yeah. Thank you.